Breedinum Radio, brought to you by Pertinier Outdoors, your source for all things deer hunting and the rut here in New York State, right in your backyard, so you can get up in the stand and pound them all season long.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Breedinum Radio series. This will be episode number 6, I believe, so week 6 of Breedinum Radio, and likely will be the last of this little rut series that we've been doing here. It seems as if the rut must be winding down here in New York, at least the first phase of it, and it's getting a little bit later into season, and it's becoming a little more challenging to kind of keep up with everybody's kills and everybody's success as gun season keeps on going here. So there's been a lot of success from a lot of people over the last week as we had our gun opener on Saturday here in New York, and as if you've been following along with us on social media, there's been a bunch of the guys that we hunt with and some of our friends have had some great success. So this week we'll be sharing a couple, well, 3 of those stories. So first we'll have Glen Stratton. So Glen is he lives up kind of towards the Watertown area, hunts just outside the Adirondacks near the Tug Hill area. So we'll have Glen on to tell his story. My good friend Brad Linsey, he shot that beautiful buck on Monday afternoon here in Sheldon. So he's going to be jumping on to share that story with us. That's a fun one. And then last but not least, we'll have Dallas Kirsch. So that's my wife's cousin. I'm pretty good buddies with Dallas, and we hunt pretty exclusively together on the farm out here. So, we've gotten to be pretty good friends over the last 6-8 years and pretty close hunting buddies. So Dallas had shot a nice buck on opening day. And then on Saturday afternoon and Sunday, he took his daughter out with him. And his daughter, Emma, she's a superstar, and she wants everybody to know that. And she's very excited, and she really wanted to be part of the podcast. So I think you'll really enjoy that one too. We got a great story coming from Dallas and Emma, and telling us a little bit about their success they had over the weekend. So a quick update from us, what we've got going on as a group in our camp. We did have some success last weekend as far as getting some deer on the meat pole. So myself, I shot a doe with my bow on Friday to wrap up the archery season. And then I harvested a doe on opening day with my rifle. So it felt good to get a couple of good clean kills and some more meat in the freezer. So I'm still chasing that elusive buck. I have yet to have really a good opportunity at all. I mean, I didn't have a single shot opportunity during archery and didn't really see a good mature buck for that matter. And as we've gone into gun here, I've got 2 days of gun hunting under my belt and have not had a single encounter opportunity with a good buck. So that's okay. I'll keep putting the time in, and I'm sure the opportunity will present itself, and just got to kind of stay after it. So that's kind of the update there for myself and our immediate success at camp. My dad also shot a buck, and we'll get him on. It's just been very challenging. This week was a busy week, so getting him on to share what he did and his experience on opening day. We did not get a chance to get with him, but at some point I know we'll get him on to share that story. And then and his best friend Joel also shot a nice little buck on opening day, and it was a great deer for Joel, and a good clean kill there as well. So we did have some success up at camp. The neighbors had a good opening day. They saw some good bucks, and one of the young kids in camp put a nice buck down. So that was great to see. And lastly, just kind of an update on Mr. Frankenbeans. So we've been following this buck and had some good encounters with him, both on the trail camera and in person. As we talked about last week's episode, Jimmy had the run-in with him when he could not shoot him. So Jimmy had filled his buck tag, and this big, beautiful buck comes walking by, of course, at 15 yards broadside, and Jimmy could not do anything about it. So opening day, Adam, our cousin Adam, he went up and got up into his stand, and Jimmy drove up the hill on the four-wheeler, and wouldn't you know it that Mr. Frankenbeans came walking down the hill, nonchalant and bedded down, kind of in an awkward position. Adam didn't have a very good clear shot at him at all, and he laid there for about 2 hours at 80 yards, and whether the wind switched or maybe there was a creek and it was a very quiet morning, so who knows what got him up, but something got him up, and Adam tried to make it happen and put a couple shots out there towards him. And I guess unfortunately, but fortunately, didn't cut a hair. It wasn't a wound or anything like that. So definitely feel good that Mr. Frank is still alive. We've heard nothing of anybody around us that has either seen him or has harvested him. So Jimmy did see him as the buck ran up the hill. It ran right by Jimbo, and he didn't have an opportunity to shoot at him as he was running through the woods. So we're optimistic that he's still around. The camera activity has died off significantly. All the areas where we were seeing activity in early November, that has totally turned off. A lot of the does have even seemed to have not necessarily maybe moved out, but they've changed their travel patterns and where they're hanging. So the season is winding on here, and it seems like they're relocating themselves to try to find food and cover. And we had some bitter cold weather last weekend, as anyone here in New York knows, with that snow on the ground. So it appeared that a lot of the deer were trying to find a little bit thicker cover, getting into some pines and hemlocks, and hunkering down near food so that they could bed and have food pretty close. And as we got on later through the weekend and getting up and doing some still hunting, that's what we were finding was beds very close to food, but in some good cover, and so for both security and for warmth during those cold nights and cold days that we were having. Those pine trees offer a lot of protection to that. So we are optimistic. There wasn't a lot of shooting, and maybe these upcoming weeks, having this kind of odd weekend before Thanksgiving, we'll give the deer a little bit of a break, and we will have a chance to get after them next week during Thanksgiving week and the weekend following. So stick along. Like I said, this will probably be the last of the Breedinum radio series, and we'll probably get back to some regular old log talk. But we just wanted to kind of wrap this series up and share a few of these stories. And, of course, if we have any noteworthy stories that come about from any of the folks that we've already heard from, or anybody else that's near us, or any of our fellow Pertinier Pro staffers out there that would like to get their story out there, we'll gladly do that. We just want to kind of get back to the normal one episode a week type of model, and try to keep that content and keep it good quality, and also keep it coming on a regular basis. So thanks again for following along. As mentioned last week, try to use the link in our bio on Instagram or on Facebook. That link will take you to it's called a link tree, which will take you to another website that gives you some click buttons that you can go to if you're going to do any shopping, especially with the holidays approaching and Cyber Monday. We've got a few companies that we're working with that we can get a little bit of credit for some of the purchases that you make, and it'll help us fund this podcast. So if you have any questions about how that works or anything along those lines, feel free to reach out to us. But definitely appreciate the support. Appreciate. Is that a freaking word? Appreciate everybody hanging along and enjoying this hunting season. It's been a lot of fun engaging with everybody. So good luck. Stay after it, and keep feeding them, everybody.
How are you, Glenn?
Hey, guys. I'm good. How about y'all?
I'm very good.
Good.
So welcome to Breedinum Radio. You earned your spot.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I keep seeing all the posts there on the Instagram. I got to get on that spot.
So. Yeah. I was pumped to get that message from you the other day. Congrats on the buck.
Yeah, boy, he was a good one, huh?
Yeah, beautiful.
Biggest one I've ever got. So
is it?
I was very pleased. Yep. So
it's awesome. So let's jump right into it. So I guess just quick introducing you. So Glen, it's Glen Stratton, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So Glen's from up in the Tug Hill region, and Glen and I have met. He's on the board for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and met at a couple different events during the year last winter. So kind of stayed in touch, and then Glen reached out to me end of last week with a picture of a beautiful Adirondack buck, and wanted to know if that would qualify him to be part of this podcast. And I said 100%. So that's why you're on here, and look forward to kind of hearing the story about how it all went down. So
yeah,
jump right into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been, I guess, back up a little bit. I started bow hunting this year, and actually I went out with Garrett Burback with Lesser Wilderness, and we went to Idaho elk hunting, and we didn't get nothing, but we sure had a good time. And while I was out there, I figured out that Idaho means up. Just because anywhere you go out there is up. But anyway, so I come back. We got back home, and right there at the end of September, and I went out opening day of bow season, and I had this buck and another bigger one come by me, but they were just inside the wood line, just out of reach with my bow. But I watched them walk on by, and so this guy here, I'm pretty sure I encountered him a couple more times, and both times he took me to school on, either I jumped him or he winded me or what have you. And then this past Friday, I hadn't been seeing a lot of deer, and so I was kind of discouraged a little bit, but it just kept hammering. And I got 40 acres right here at our house, and so I was just determined that this year I said I'm going to kill me a deer on our place, because I hadn't killed one back here in several years now. And so I just hung with it, and about 9:30 or about 9 o'clock rather, here he come. He had his nose right plastered to the ground, and he had his mind on other things, and I lined up on him, and I thought he was fixing to walk away from me, and he was through a little bit of brush, not much. So, and I shot and hit him the first time, and he jumped straight up. And he ran over about, I don't know, he went probably about 50, 60 feet or so, and just stopped right behind a tree. And I stayed on him. And I've been watching Randy Newberg on Fresh Tracks, and so one of his motto is if they're still standing, keep shooting. So when that deer, when he turned and he stepped out from behind that tree, I let him have it again, and he ran off about probably 50 yards and laid right down and died. And so that was kind of it. I just kind of sat there in the tree. I could see him from my tree stand, and I just kind of had to collect myself a little bit, because he was, a really nice deer on the biggest one that I've killed. So I texted my wife, and she actually come out there, and I got to give her credit. She we put him on the sled, and she pulled him back to the house.
That's awesome.
So we hung him up. I didn't have a scale, but I'm gonna guess he was probably conservative 170, 175 pounds. I want to say 180, but he was every bit of 170, 175 pound 9-point. So it was awesome, boy. And I've been Garrett and he's my next door neighbor, and we made a pact several years back that we wanted shooting nothing smaller than a 6-point, and we've held true to that. And so I'm kind of on DEC's let them go, watch them grow game plan. At least, as long as I get me a decent buck. Now, I don't know if as the season drags on and I'm not successful, I don't know if I'd lower my standards or not.
Right.
To get one. So yeah, it was a good time. It was good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think that it's pretty exciting to hear. I didn't realize that was your biggest buck, and it's a beautiful deer, and especially up in that area.
Yeah.
Because you guys are up in the Pulaski kind of Tug Hill area, right? I remember correctly.
That's right. Well, we're not up on the Tug Hill, but yeah, we're up in Pulaski. So okay. My house is probably about 10 miles off the east shore of Lake Ontario as a crow flies. So
okay.
So we're kind of down in the, I don't know, we're not quite up on the hill yet. But
no, you're right at the base of it.
Yeah.
So what's the hunting like in that area? I mean, is there a lot of farmland, or is it a lot of just pretty much woods around you, or what does it look like up there?
A lot of both. From right here where our house is at, where my house is at, there's woods all to the north, and there's public land. The Sandy Creek State Forest is just to the north of me, but it's woods all the way through. but it's real hard to hunt. A lot of private land between here and there. And then kind of south of me is farmland, and most of it is Amish. A lot of Amish have moved in up here, and so they're not necessarily farming it so much as they are just haying it and keeping cows on it and such. There's a few farms here and there, but some ag land, but I'd say mostly woods around here. So some open fields, but like I say, mostly just haying it.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, there's a lot of there seems to be a lot of hunting pressure right here at the house. There's a lot of people to hunt right here.
Yeah.
I was surprised I got this deer because there's some guys around, buddy. Whenever soon as muzzleload season opens up, either they're bad shots or I don't know, but they air them out. A lot of shooting goes on.
A lot of shooting, huh?
Yeah, man. So, but hey, you just got to hang with it, And
you do, and it's a long season. I mean, you guys, our opener here in the southern tier zone was this weekend, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around the fact that you guys have been hunting with a rifle for almost a month now, and
that's right.
And that those deer are getting pressured in a lot of areas. There's probably a lot of areas that don't get a ton of pressure just because of how vast they are, but you get into some areas like where you are, it is not terribly difficult to traverse and everything else, and it probably gets hunted very hard for a month or two on end, almost 2 months on end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they get a lot of hunting, that's for sure, and especially here because, a lot of roads, so, it's not a lot of walking, but it is, some of it's kind of hard. The woods are kind of thick, so, it keeps people at bay a little bit, but they get a lot of hunting pressure, for sure.
Yeah. So talking going back to the behavior of the deer, I mean, so we down here in the southern tier haven't seen a whole lot of rutting activity in the last week to 10 days, even almost 2 weeks. It kind of died off after the weekend of the 9th, and but you were saying that buck, he appeared that he was out looking for his girlfriend. It sounds like. Oh
yeah. I'm pretty sure he was. Like I say, he was coming with a purpose, and he had his nose. He was plastered right to the ground, and he was just walking pretty fast, and so I'm pretty sure he was hot on the trail because when I got over where I shot him, I could see some more fresh tracks. I didn't see any doe or nothing, but he was on some fresh tracks there. So I'm pretty sure he was in the rut. So
and what was your setup? Were you near, like, you've got the 40 acres there at your house? Is there a bunch of bedding, or what does that kind of look like? What was your setup? Were you kind of on the edge of something so that with the wind blowing a certain direction, they would be ideally moving that way, or what was your approach?
Yep. The wind was coming out the southwest, and my stand is set up for a southerly type wind, and I believe there's some, to the west of me, there's a field, a couple fields, and my neighbor Garrett there, there's some real thick ground, and I'm pretty sure they're bedding on his place or just the other side of it, and and I believe he was coming, and they'll use my property just to kind of traverse. I've been managing here, trying to get some good habitat in there, so I got a lot of oak and such coming in, so I think they'll come through, and I was setting up right on to the east of me there's a big drainage, if you will, and there's just one crossing there, and I call this stand my house stand because it's literally right behind the house. When the leaves are off the trees, I can see the house, and I really just put it up there just in case back before I retired, if I got home late or something, I could just slip out there real quick, because it's easy to get to and get up in there, and I've killed more deer out of that stand, than anyone I got. So they just kind of use that piece right there just to kind of, it's a travel corridor going from, I believe, from bedding to their food source. So yeah. And perfect, so I was set up
for that.
Perfect wind that morning. It was, nice and a steady little breeze. I like it. I like to hunt with a little more of a steady breeze than like dead calm, and so it was a good breeze coming, and so the wind wasn't a factor or nothing, and he really wasn't paying attention. So not that I was moving around a lot, but he wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, so I was able to really get set up on him and follow him for a minute there. And as soon as he stopped the first time, I was ready for him. So yeah, but it was kind of interesting to be able to harvest that buck after encountering him on the very first day of bow season. And
yeah, that's awesome. Did you have an opportunity to shoot at anything with your bow this year?
I shot at a doe. I was set up one morning, and it was probably about 20 minutes before shooting time, and I could see a deer moving. So I glassed him with my binoculars. It was a really nice 8-point, and so I just kind of, I was real still, got my bow. I was just going to stand right there and wait till it got light, the shooting time. And that deer, I don't know what he did because I didn't take my eyes off him, but he like disappeared on me. He never showed up. And so I just sat there for a little bit, and there was a couple doe come out on me. And so I was just sitting there trying to decide if I was going to shoot them. So anyways, I finally drew back on one and completely missed her. It was my first time ever shooting at an animal. Like 20 yards, or less than 20 yards. It's like, I thought I had it in the bag, but I guess I must have put it on my 30-yard pin. That's the only thing I can think of because, I practiced all summer, and I was very confident in my shooting. And I smooth missed that deer, went right over her back.
Okay.
But I'd rather have a clean miss than a bad hit. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And so were you pretty excited? Your heart was racing?
Yeah, I was. And it seemed like when I pulled back, it seemed like I had to, hold it full draw for 10 minutes. Seemed like it wasn't that long, but it seemed like, forever for her to get in place. And then when I stopped her, I should have let her take one more step because it was kind of a tight spot right there. But when I let her fly, I just kind of shot, and I'm like, yeah, this is in the bag. And I'm like, well, what happened? The deer just kind of stood there and looked at me and then turned around and walked off.
Oh my God!
And she was, and so there was another one there too, and nearly one of them was in a good spot where I could shoot them, let another arrow fly. So that's all right. I'll be ready next year for them. So
yeah, there's nothing easy about it. I don't care. You can go out and you can have a season where you've got 5-6 opportunities and you make a great shot on every one of them, and you walk away and say, man, I've got it figured out. And then the next year you go out and either you can't find an opportunity or you get a perfect opportunity and you can't seem to make it happen. It's right. It's a humbling sport for sure.
But I tell you what, that bow hunting, now there's something to that. I don't care if you're standing it's up in a tree stand or on the ground. There's a whole nother level of skill, if you will, or there's a whole lot of more stuff that's got to happen before you can shoot. You got to come to full draw and the whole 9 yards, and it's like you're moving, and it ain't easy. And I think I'm hooked. I think I'm hooked for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely not hard to get hooked, and I think shooting does I get just as fired up for shooting does because as well as anybody that you're out there, a good chance that you're going to have more than one doe coming in together. And and you got a bunch of eyes, and you can't make a peep, and you got to make all that stuff happen that you were just talking about. That whole process of the shot. It's pretty. That's right. It's fun, and it is nerve-wracking for sure.
Yep. And so yeah, it'd be great to get you and Garrett on here maybe sometime over the winter to hear about your trip out west. I know I've seen some pictures and stuff, but I'd love to hear your guys' story, and I think it's kind of cool how you guys have become hunting buddies. So I think it'd be neat to get you guys on. Yeah, Garrett, he's really inspired me, if you will, or maybe not that, but he's really mentored me. There you go, on hunting. And, because where I come from in Florida, we dog hunted all the time. And I didn't really hunt a lot down there, but when I did hunt, it was hunting with dogs. And that's a whole nother, that's just a whole nother deal. And, but since I've come up here and started still hunting and hunting with Garrett and just having real good hunting ethics and caring about the animal and having, it's just a whole nother level of hunting that, you really feel good about. And so yeah, I'm glad I met him. I'm glad I got him as a neighbor because he's really helped me a lot. Taught me how to hunt a lot too. So
yeah, I'll never forget when I met you guys at that pint night, and I thought you were his dad, and that was pretty hilarious. Like, hell no, that's not my father. That was funny. So I think to this day, I may still, when Garrett's around, I may still say something like that just to get him fired up. But. Yeah. So, see, so how's his mustache looking? He still got the mustache?
Oh, he's still rocking it. Yeah, boy, he's still rocking that. He said he's gonna keep it.
Awesome.
So yeah. But.
All right. Well, it was nice catching up with you. Congrats on the buck, and we'll definitely we'll be seeing you, I'm sure, over the winter months, and maybe we'll even try to get together and do a podcast with you and Garrett.
You bet. Hey, did y'all get Frank and Beans yet? Did somebody get that or was that another buck? Okay.
No. So I posted a buck the other night. Well, yesterday. It would have been Tuesday. And my good friend Brad, he shot a buck that he's been after. He had one picture of him. That's it ever. And the deer showed up on Monday afternoon. And so I'm gonna get him on here to tell his story. But the saga with Frank and Beans lives on. We did see him last Saturday on opening day, and he pulled the slip and got away from one of our guys in our camp and ended up running by my brother and was too far in the woods for a shot, so he couldn't shoot at him. So as far as we know, nobody shot him. And
good.
I don't know. In a way, it's kind of it's good. The trail cameras have gone like silent. We haven't got really any bucks on camera at all. It's like everything's hunkered right down with the pressure, and then we had the super cold weather this weekend. So, stay tuned because hopefully somebody runs into him here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, well, good deal. Get after him.
All right, man.
I'm really enjoying y'all's Instagram account. It's pretty good. So
awesome. We appreciate it. We're having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, man. All right. Yeah,
all right.
We'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah, tell your wife and your dog I said hello.
All right, we'll do it. So, bye.
See ya. Bye.
Gotta have that freaking beast there.
Yeah. Gotta sit here and look at him. We got Tucker.
Tuck away down.
Hear that? Slapping the leg.
Tuck.
He's fine. All right, so I'm sitting down here with the Brad Linsey, the big buck killer himself. Have you come down from Cloud 9 yet?
I am coming down slowly, but I think I've stared at this rack for, I don't know, at least 20 hours since I've killed it. And
yes, that's how long you've been awake, is 20 hours. Since,
yeah, pretty much.
But take your microphone and kind of spin it so it's flipped around a little bit. There you go. All right, so we want to just kind of, like you and I were talking about, I just want to kind of run through the story. So Brad is one of my good buddies who lives right here in Sheldon. So he's been working hard this year to put a lot of work in off season and give himself an opportunity to have a buck like this standing in front of him to be able to put a shot on it. So I guess kind of starting from square one before we even get into hunting season, you've been spending a lot of time, working on stands and working on food plots, and this was over at your in-laws' property, so I know you were doing a lot of work over there with them all summer long, working on stands and stuff. So I guess kind of run through kind of the making of what you've got going on with this buck you put on the ground the other day.
So I've been working on everything every year, but this year I think I kicked it up even more. My hunting area is pretty spread out. So one thing that helped me, I think, this year is I bought that side-by-side with the heated cab on it and everything. So I can take my little girl, she's just a little over 2, with me to trim stands for whatever, if it's 15 minutes or half an hour. So pretty much what that added up to was my stands were trimmed. The hunting lanes were good. I was maintaining my cameras. I was really watching them more than ever. And just what bucks were where on what days. I started timing them out, trying to just pattern them as much as possible. This year I started watching moon phases more and just weather conditions. I always watch the wind, but I just paid more attention to it than ever. I was actually gonna start paying attention to my camera so much that I started logging weather conditions when I saw bucks and stuff like that. And I still might do that. It's just a time thing for me.
Yeah.
But so yeah, just really watching, and I think about what stand I'm going to sit in with weather conditions, and I think about it too much. It's an obsession of mine for sure.
Yeah.
So that comes down to, weather conditions, not only that, but pressure, how much pressure I'm putting on what stands. If I'm getting busted, I try to lay off or whatever, just try to make the best decisions out of it that I can. I mean, an animal like this buck it's so much smarter than the rest of the deer that you're hunting, or that the rest of the deer that you see. It's unbelievable how smart they are. So You really you might be seeing a lot of deer, but you gotta prepare yourself for an animal like this, I think, that is just way smarter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, all summer long and going into the fall, I could tell this year you were in a different mindset because, we've been buddies however long, it's been 5 years now ish since I've been living here, and we've gotten to be good friends through Brian. And you've always hunted, but this year I could tell that you were you were at another level focus wise, and yeah, I mean, every time we got together, you had new trail cam pictures, and late in the summer, you were like, look at this, I got 4 or 5 good bucks on camera together. And I mean, you had this is one deer that you had on camera, but there was several others that good ones you had on camera. So it was I think all of us kind of knew it was just a matter of time before you had that opportunity and had one of these guys in front of you. And it's cool that you were thinking, you had that mindset, you were thinking about, trying to put the pieces together of getting those pictures. Why were they where they were when you were getting pictures of them? And I think that's something that all of us would probably like to. It is a time thing. It does take a lot of time to sit down and put all those pieces together, but I think it's valuable to do that. We're chasing a big buck right now too, as up at our place, and it'd be good to really put some of that stuff, put it on a spreadsheet or try to understand why was that deer in this area on this day. How does it, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that will line up if you start actually putting it on paper to try to figure it out. So going through all that, so that's kind of the preseason. Then we get up to archery. So archery season, did you hunt over there quite a bit during archery?
I hunted quite a bit. We have another piece of land that's a lot smaller, and I did most of my hunting there. I hunted as much as I could on that smaller piece of land without putting too much pressure on it, I thought was too much pressure. So yeah, I did scout a couple times though with my bow. One time at the end of bow season, I scouted one stand where I didn't really think I'd have very good odds with a bow, but I just kind of wanted to see for gun season. I was getting pretty excited for gun season from what I was seeing and stuff like that. So, yeah, just trying to pick my stand, as best as I can. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Yep. So opening weekend arrives, and we had really cold weather. We had a good amount of. We had that big storm on, was that Veterans Day? We had that big storm, and we got probably upwards of 8 to 10 inches around here. It was a lot of snow when we were out tracking that deer the other night. I couldn't believe how much snow there was out in the field there. So we had good snow, we had cold weather, and so I guess we'll kind of run through the weekend. How'd you guys do out there? Were you seeing a lot of movement, activity naturally, or was there a lot of pressure in that block of woods last weekend?
Opening day, I hunted the small piece that I usually hunt, and I watched deer the entire time. I mean, they weren't really running on that piece of property. I didn't hear a ton of shots opening day. I've heard definitely busier opening mornings.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then in the afternoon I hunted the piece of property where I got this buck, and on that piece of property I saw a lot of running deer. Deer that would pop out in the field and just kind of scurry down the hedgerow and pop back in. So there's definitely some pressure on that field. I did have a bunch of doe come out in the one old cornfield and hang out for a while. It was funny when I was watching them. There's a couple, not too close, but close by gunshots. And I was surprised because normally that doesn't bug them. But I almost think these deer got shot at prior to me seeing them that day, because every time there was a shot, they kind of ran back and forth a little bit. It was scaring them.
They were aware of what was going on.
I feel like probably some of the deer that were with that pack or that herd of deer that day got shot at or taken, So
Yeah.
So yeah, they were spooked a little bit, but
Yeah.
that being said, they were still doing pretty much what they normally did out in that cornfield. So
Yep.
except for running back and forth. But
So that's the weekend. Not a whole lot happened. Not a whole lot presented itself. So then you got to Monday. Monday was a gorgeous day. It was sunny. Right, I think it was sunny. I was driving home when I got the call from Brian that you would hit the buck.
it was a pretty nice day. I did check the wind. In the morning, I went into this hemlock area that I don't really have a stand in, but I'm interested in putting a stand. So I took the top of my climber and I just put it at the base of a tree and I just sat in it with my feet on the ground, just kind of scoping some stuff out. And I saw one big monster doe that I was thinking about taking a shot at, but I didn't, because I'm just so obsessed with getting a buck. So then I got out of there that morning and I kind of did some stuff around the house, and I was playing the wind, watching it, and it kind of looked like it was coming out of the east permanently, just kind of bouncing back and forth from north to south. So some of the other stands that I like better, I was kind of putting too much pressure on, I felt, so that's why I picked this stand, because it was good in the east wind, haven't been there much, and then also I know by camera that there's been some good bucks down there.
Yeah.
So plus one other guy that I know saw this buck down in that area.
Hojo saw it, right, on Saturday?
Hojo saw it down there. He actually saw it opening morning. He went to pull up on it, and his scope was turned up too high and couldn't get in his scope.
Yeah.
So he pretty much dropped the ball on that one for sure. But
when we found the deer, he's like, "That's him. That's the one." He was like,
but like I've told him, I've been there.
"Yeah,
I've done it
we've all been there, man."
I have screwed it up, as many ways as you possibly can screw up.
Yeah.
Actually, the stand that I was sitting in to get this guy last year, I was sitting in it, and behind me, the worst possible spot, a big doe came out. You ever see a big doe and you just know there's a buck behind her because she's just, a nice doe. And so I looked, and here he is, and he's a nice buck. And I set my binoculars on my knee, and when I went to reach for my gun and kind of shift around, my binoculars fell on the stand, and the buck was gone. So I've seen some decent bucks out of that stand, but I've also screwed it up just like Chris did. So
Right.
It happens.
Yeah, it does.
For sure.
So you didn't hunt in the morning, or did you?
I did hunt in the morning. I went to those hemlocks and just kind of scouted around.
Oh, that's right.
I was looking for a spot to put my climber permanently for the rest of the season, but came up short. There was just kind of all these scrub trees and stuff like that. So
you came back. You were kind of kicking around. Then you went out for the afternoon sit. So we kind of just from there on, run us through the whole process of putting this guy in the ground.
So I picked the stand, like I said, because of the weather conditions, the wind, and the pressure that I've been putting on and haven't been putting on this stand. So I picked this stand. I get out there at 10 after 2, and there's a lot of goldenrod, so I get the binoculars, and I'm looking through it all, because once in a while when you sit in that stand, you'll see a deer that won't move. It'll stay bedded down in that goldenrod. You'll be sitting there for 3 hours, and also more will pop up in the goldenrod. Just, it was bedded down. So I'm sitting there at 10 after 2, and I just started to where I was really moving slow, turning my head slow, just trying to make the best of it. And I see a doe come out in this newly planted hayfield. No one's ever taken anything off this field. It's pretty tall. They could have, but it got late, so they didn't. Mm-hmm. So I see this one doe, and then my father-in-law brush hogged at the end of this field, and I see some more deer down there. So I got my binoculars on them. I'm checking them out. One comes out, another one comes out. I'm checking them out, no horns, right? So enough of these deer start coming out where I'm like, well, I better grab my rifle and get it pointed in this direction. one thing I didn't feel good about is the stand, since the leaves have fallen, I was a little more open than I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But there were some branches and stuff hanging down, so it wasn't horrible, but I definitely didn't want to be moving around too much. So I got the rifle in the right direction, and I think I was just literally doing that, and all of a sudden I look, and there's another deer out with that doe that came out in the field, and I can see horn on the side. You know, I got a side view of him, and then almost instantly he turns and looks at me, and I'm like, yep, that's the one. So I trimmed that tree stand, but I didn't want to take everything.
Yeah.
So, of course, there's some branches in the way, and I didn't like the shot. He was obviously facing directly towards me. Didn't like anything about it, so I'm like, all right, you know, my heart's pounding, and I am literally telling myself to calm down.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you gotta calm down. I could feel my heart beating in my chest. And
Yeah.
buck fever like crazy. So I'm like, he's gonna turn. He's gonna give you a better shot. He was super relaxed out there with that deer, and so as I'm watching him, now I'm watching him through the scope, and I'm trying not to look at his horns because I know he's a shooter, but it's not helping me by looking at the size of this deer. So.
No.
So I'm just concentrating on calming down and trying to, you know, complete the deal on this deer. So I don't like the window that I have. I don't like the angle I have on him and everything. So as I'm not liking this and waiting for him to turn, he starts getting nervous, I can tell. And he looks in my direction. He's 200 yards away. He looks pretty much straight up at me. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this deer is making me out. And the wind was swirling a little bit, but 200 yards away.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's no way he's smelling me. And I don't know if he caught a glimpse of my scope or something like that, a glare off it, which it was pretty much overcast at this point. So I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know. I don't know how he did it, but he was making me out.
Yeah.
So I could tell he was getting nervous, and I could tell he was going to bail. So now I'm getting a little antsy, you know, but I don't want to make a bad shot on this deer. So I have a window, and I'm looking through it, and I'm like, I think I can make it through that window. If he turns broadside, I'm going to take it. So he turns around and starts walking away from me, directly away from me. I'm like, holy smokes, this deer. Which I was glad he was doing that, because he could have went south on me.
Yeah.
And been out of the field within like 10 steps.
Right.
So I was glad he did that. Well, he was nervous, and he turned a little bit, so he was quartering away from me hard. Mm-hmm. And he kind of like looked over his shoulder, and I'm like, now or never. And I pulled the trigger, and he just started flying around, and he fell on his ass in this little stream, just hard. And he got back up, and I already had another shell in there, and I freaking rocked another one his way. I don't think I got him, but you know, you got to try at that point. And I was just thinking, I was worried because he shouldn't have got up. I had my 300, and he shouldn't have got back up. So I was really worried. Got down, checked the blood. It was pretty good, but he was out of sight. So I didn't really want to go too much farther. And sure as shit, as soon as I look up, there he is. And I spooked him, and he ran. And he was running sideways. So I pulled up again to shoot, and my safety was on. So I clicked my safety off, and I still saw him through some brush, and it was a lot of brush, but at this point, I know he's
right. You're trying to put him down.
I'm trying to put him down. My freaking heart, again, is pounding on my chest, and I fire another one at him. Pretty sure not hitting him, but I was in the general direction of him, so I felt pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could nick him or whatever, you know, at this point. Just terrified pretty much of what's going on here. And so I kind of look at his blood through my scope where he went, and it looked pretty good. So I got back out. I got a hold of Hojo, and we went. He has the next property line. We literally stood there until sunset, making sure he didn't come through there. Mm-hmm. And I was really confident that he was in there. He was hurting. And, you know, I was pretty confident that I took him. So we did the right thing. We got out of there. I came home, changed. You know, we got you, Brian, and we went back at 7:30. And we got on his trail. And I don't know if I was going too fast or what, but you guys were all like, you got to slow down. And I was even telling myself to go slow, trailing him. So I don't know if I was in a sprint or what, but you guys were yelling at me.
What, tracking?
Yeah, tracking.
I was Brian and Hojo were out in front. They were like, I'm like, you guys need to slow down. They're like out flanking, getting out around, but which isn't a bad idea if you're
right. Which you guys wanted me to stay on the trail because it was my deer, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many times that I've tracked deer with Trigger, Brian, and you know, I feel like his eyesight is
he's
incredible.
Unbelievable.
You know,
tracking deer with Brian, like he's.
Yeah, you always feel better when you're tracking deer with him for sure. He's like my coon hound pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he gets out to my right, and all of a sudden he's like, Brad, there he is. And I'm just like, holy crap, you know, where? Is he alive? Is he dead? I'm like, is he dead? Is he dead? And he's like, he's dead, buddy. He's dead. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Freaking go up, grab this thing's horns, and I freaking couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was awesome to be part of that. And, you know, so once we got on that blood trail, you know, we would cross that little stream and we got on his trail. I mean, it appeared to really only hit him the one time with the first shot.
I think I only hit him one time.
But you must have hit that one of those artery, that femoral artery or whatever. You must have hit that because Tucker, because he was. Oh, Tucker.
Go lay down, buddy. Almost took out the podcast.
Freaking Tucker. Can't have nothing nice when you got kids and dogs. That's what my mother always used to say. She still says it, actually. But we're following that blood trail, and I mean, he started just dumping blood, and you could tell where he fell down a couple times, and you know, so I think Brian could sense what was going on, so he got out far to the right there, and it was awesome because from my perspective, I stayed back behind you, and just watching this whole thing unfold. I mean, I think you probably knew too as we were continuing on that blood trail. I mean, the way he was bleeding. And what was going on there? You must have hit that femoral artery in the back.
Yeah.
In the back end, and so he did not go that far, probably from where the last place you saw him. He probably went 40 yards, 30 yards.
He didn't go far. And when we got to him, he was stiff, so I could have went back. I could have kept going on him. I think if I would have walked his trail right then and there, I would have found him.
Yeah.
But I've also screwed that up in the past hunts, and I'm just not going to do that anymore.
No.
It takes a lot of patience to back out of something like that, but it's the right thing to do.
Yep. And like Brian said, when you called him, I was on the phone with Brian, and then you called him to tell him what was going on, and like he said, he goes, "Do you want the deer?" And you're like, "Yes, I want the deer." It's like, back out. There's no rush. It's dark now anyway, so just let's give it time. We'll all go back together, and you know, it was just incredible to be part of that with you and to see the excitement. And it was just all natural, you know, like you walking up on that thing, and like I have the video, it's freaking classic. You're like, "Oh my God, look at this buck. This is unbelievable." It was just fantastic.
Pause it.
Okay, we don't know where we were at. We got interrupted by a woman. I think we were chatting about just walking up on the deer. It was a pretty special moment to watch you and the excitement you had. And I recorded a video on my phone, you know, following you that last like couple minutes. I knew we had to be getting close. I could sense with the blood. So I'm like, I'm going to whip my phone out and videotape this. Just like seeing that just genuine excitement in you as you walked up on this deer, and you're like, "Oh my God, look at this buck." You're like grabbing on, and it was incredible to be there to experience that. And I know how hard you've been working, and all of us are very passionate and work very hard to get an opportunity like that. So for you to put it all together was a pretty special thing to be part of. So
yeah, it was. And how this all came about too is I started 10 years ago hunting because pretty much after high school I became best friends with Brian. I mean, we were good friends in high school, but you know, he's obviously been doing it his entire life. So that's pretty much, you know, he got me into it, just talking, telling me stories, and I bought his old bow, and 10 years ago, you know, I started hunting. And
'cause I didn't know it was that recent. I assumed that you grew up.
Yeah, I haven't been hunting my whole life.
No, because your dad doesn't hunt, or
nope,
grandpa or anything, or
my mom's dad used to hunt, you know, when I was a little kid, but he passed away when I was fairly young, and I just never really got into it. Brian got me into it.
Yeah.
We became absolute best friends, and he was my best man, and that's how this has all happened. So 10 years isn't a really long time.
No, it's not.
But, you know, I've been progressing through 10 years, and I consider myself extremely competitive. And so
Yes, that's accurate
once I get a buck, I want a bigger buck.
Yeah.
And then I think last year it really set in because John Peterson was picking on me in Pennsylvania because I shot a nice 8-point here, and then I shot another nice 8-point, and he's like, "Hey, Brad, that looks just like every other 8-point you've ever got," and
Yeah.
he's right. I pretty much got a whole bunch of 8-points, not bad deer, but
Right.
and that I think finally triggered. I was getting there myself, but I just want to keep shooting bigger bucks, and
Yeah.
I've even thought about it today. I want to do this again.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the God's honest truth. I was hunting 4 deer in the territory that I hunt, which is a pretty big territory from my house to where I, hunt on French Road. I was tracking 4 deer, hunting 4 deer.
Yeah.
I mean, and I
wasn't. You're saying 4, the number 4.
4.
There was 4 different deer that you were.
4 different deer that
Yeah.
I was willing to shoot this season.
Yeah.
And that's what I set myself to, and I knew it was hard. It was going to be hard to do that. But I wasn't willing to settle.
Yeah.
And I was willing to come up with nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, so down to the last day, I was willing to come up with nothing. So,
yeah. And that, I could tell that in you, talk as we were talking earlier in this conversation, leading up to the season, you were in a different mindset and you were more focused. We weren't talking as much because I know damn well that you were in a tree or you were out scouting on the weekend during season, you were trying to figure it out. And so it did not surprise me at all on Monday for me be on the phone with Brian chatting, and then he's like, "Oh, I gotta go." Brad just texted me and said he hit a buck. It didn't surprise me at all that you put yourself in a situation like this with one of these deer. And, I'm happy as hell for you. And, you, in the grand scheme of things, you are a relatively new hunter. You didn't grow up around it. It's not something that you've always done, but when you commit yourself, I just see who you are as a person. You commit yourself and this is the goal you wanted to achieve. And Brian shot the giant muley, but Brian's a hell of a hunter, and Brian's never shot anything like this. I've been hunting my whole life, and I don't know if I've even had a buck like this walk in front of me. So you should be super proud of having this thing sitting on the table in front of us. And, it was awesome to be part of that experience with you. And that's why, when I just wanted to be with you, when Brian told me that Brad shot a big one, I was like, it must be a big one because I know how hard Brad's been working this year and what he's after. So it has to be a good deer that you're following here tonight.
It's funny that you say that because when I got a hold of Brian, I don't think I ever told him that it was huge or that I thought it was huge or anything. I just said I shot a deer, and I pretty much was really concerned about getting it, and I think he kind of thought what you were thinking, maybe just because I wasn't willing to settle, and because he pretty much just assumed that it was something like this. And
yeah,
I even wondered, as we were doing it, as we were tracking it, why he thought that, but maybe that's why. So.
I'll bet you that's because that he said that to me on the phone when he called me. He's like, Brad shot a big one. So he must have just known too, just from knowing what you've been putting into it, and it's pretty awesome. And I think that's what's cool about hunting in general is that for every person, it can be a different goal and a different thing you're trying to walk away with. For you, like you just said it, you're a very competitive person. You want to continue stepping the bar up. And when John challenged you you shot 2 really nice bucks last year. The one here in New York with your gun was a beautiful buck, and the buck in PA was a great buck on public land in the big mountains of PA. And then you go and get challenged by somebody, and you're like, game on, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to shoot a slammer. And what'd you do? You went out and did it. Yeah. And that's awesome. But I guess I want we're talking on our podcast, our continued messages is it's whatever you want it to be. And this season for you was about going out there and achieving a goal. And every person who's listening or every person that's out there hunting, your goals are whatever they are. But today we're talking with you and we're talking about what you accomplished, and you accomplished your goal. And that's incredible.
Yeah, I sure did. And I'm looking, pretty much my goal is to do it. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
So somehow, some way, I'm going to keep trying to get better and hopefully do it again. It's extremely tough to do it again. And I'm going to try. But one thing I've noticed since I've gotten a deer like this, I've taken it around to different places. Today I saw Chris Miller working on his house, and as I was going to the taxidermist, I'm like, oh, Chris is there. He'd love to see it. So I backed in his driveway, and I'm like, Chris, check this out. He's like, wow, man, I've never shot a buck like this. I mean, that guy's been hunting his whole life. He's got to be in his low 60s, right?
Yeah, he's got to be early 60s.
A serious hunter, goes to PA with us. He hunts a lot, and to hear that out of some of these guys is just unbelievable. Even when I went to the taxidermist, like the guys that were hanging around in there, and even the guy doing the work there was just like, wow, that's impressive. I'm just taken back by it. Really, it's pretty cool.
Well, I think at our age, we're in our early 30s and mid 30s, early 30s. And I think at this point, you shoot a deer like this, it means a little bit more to you than if you're a 15, 16, 20-year-old kid, because you're young. You just don't understand what you just did. Right. And granted, you're a quote-unquote relatively new hunter, but you know what you just did. And I think that's cool that you're able to kind of digest that when you go and sit with people. And it's like, my dad, just like Chris Miller, my dad's been hunting his entire life. He's never shot a buck 150 inches.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to appreciate what you accomplish, and you got to be aware of that, because it's pretty special. And a lot of people, you see how many times you see it, somebody shoots a buck that it's their first deer or one of their first deer, and they're young or they're new in it, and they don't realize what they just did. People will hunt their whole lives and never get an opportunity to shoot at a deer like this.
Yeah, that's the thing. I may have only hunted for 10 years, but I put a ton of time in those 10 years. And someone didn't just take me out and put me up in their stand and then I shoot a nice buck, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think most people probably can say I worked for it, which I feel like, oh man, I did.
Yeah.
And like Chris gets real, I don't know, just frustrated, especially because he saw this buck opening day and his scope was turned up, and I told him that I've made all those mistakes, and I'm not done making mistakes.
No.
Not even close. But like, to anybody that thinks something like that you're never going to do it or whatever, I mean, it's extremely frustrating sport and extremely rewarding at the same time. You just got to put the time in and just not get too frustrated, because you might end up with not much at the end of the day.
Right.
Like I said before, these animals are so smart at this stage in their life. I think this deer was 5.5 years old. I mean, he spotted me 200 yards away.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe he's seen somebody at one point in that tree, and it caught his attention.
Yeah. Yeah. He could have saw a kind of a blob sticking out of the tree or whatever. Something that's not typically there. That's his territory.
Yeah.
They're just, I can't believe how much smarter they are.
Yeah. You're in their house, man.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff. And, we really kind of sort of just begun. I mean, you still have your archery muzzleloader tag here. So we've got, we do some muzzleloader hunts, and we go to Pennsylvania here in a couple weeks for a long weekend of rifle hunting down there. So we're going to be doing that. So the story in a way has just begun for this hunting season, but it's certainly for opening weekend of gun, we're off to a hell of a start, and, appreciate you coming on here and kind of telling your story. And I think it's cool as hell to be part of this with you as you achieve this goal. So,
yeah, I appreciate it. It was, I'll never forget it, man. It was awesome.
Yep.
Just, you're good friends and a big buck, and that's pretty much why you do it.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm sitting in the back of the, we're sitting there, and you take care of field dressing him, and we load him up in the back of Hojo's side by side, and Brian and I jump up in the back bed, and him and I are up there, and I don't know what you and Chris are talking about, but Brian and I are up there, and we're just talking. We're like, this is what it's all about. It's like just being part of that, and seeing the excitement in you, and just knowing what it takes to accomplish that goal. And we're just sitting up there on top, looking over, Hojo's got the big LEDs, the whole woods is lit up, and you're driving. It's like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
And what Hojo and I were talking about in the side-by-side was, he said, get over on the other side. No one else is sitting in here.
Yeah. Oh, because you were right over next to him.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I looked over him and I said, that's not my gun.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So you got anything else? Anything else to share?
Pretty much, don't get frustrated, man. Just keep doing what you got to do because it'll pay off sooner or later. It's tough. It's a tough freaking sport. So
It is.
to anybody who thinks that it can't happen to them, just research it like I have and just do better.
You got to be out there, right?
Yeah, and you got to be out there. And that's one thing I am definitely blessed with, some time, and my wife is super awesome with that, and it's just a good situation. So,
Yeah.
so I do have some time to spend out there, which
Helps.
It definitely helps.
And we're all very fortunate. I think it's, hunting season, it's a long season here in New York. I mean, and I think a lot of whitetail seasons across the country are long, but we all hunt archery and then we go into gun, and it's a long drag. And for especially us, we've got young kids, and it puts a lot of responsibility on our wives, and they support us at that. And that message you sent to Sarah yesterday, we were joking the night before that you were going to send her a message, but I mean, you actually did it, and she read it back to me, and I sincerely appreciate that, because it's heartfelt stuff, and it's like you couldn't have said it any better. And I know that was me leaving her alone for the night, but it was in going out to be with you, but being there and having her allow me to go out and do that, after being gone for 3 nights at camp away, her alone with the little guy, it's I think that's a big piece of all this, is that our families allow us to have the privilege to go out and spend this kind of time to chase these deer around. So
it's something that I'll never forget. So
yep, good stuff, buddy.
Yep.
I already drank my whole drink, but you can cheers to that. Cheers. Feed 'em.
Talk like a 3-year-old and don't say a lot. Just tell what happened, okay?
Okay. Don't go fast, but don't go slow.
And we'll help you. All right.
Yeah, this is just a couple of friends sitting around a table,
Yeah. It's like, just talk like you normally would. It's just like regular talk. It's just on a microphone. There's no one watching.
Yeah, it's no different, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a few people watching in the front. They don't care if you mess up a bit.
Billy's got to leave in 20 minutes, so let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. Bill Dan needs to go home and spend quality time with his mother and father, so.
Tick, tick, tick.
Tick, tick, tick. That's right. Keep us on track here.
Okay, still at daycare?
Yeah, he is.
All right, that's it.
You guys talk first, and then you ask the question.
Okay. It's very special to be sitting down here with the Emma Kirsch and the Dallas Kirsch.
The one time when I was listening.
Well, you're breaking rule number 1. You weren't supposed to talk until we told you to.
He's recording, okay?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's.
She's fired up.
You're doing great though.
You're nailing it. The excitement, I can feel it through the audio waves. It's great. So I'm sitting down here with Dallas and Emma. Dallas harvested a nice buck on opening morning, so Dallas is going to kind of give us his story, and then Emma was able to be with Dallas. Am I telling jokes here, or am I just silly? Or
She's so excited.
so Emma's going to share her perspective on being with Dallas when he shot his buck, or shot a doe with Emma on, that was Sunday, or was that
Sunday afternoon?
Sunday afternoon. Sunday fun day with Emma.
Yep.
So, Dallas, thanks for jumping on here, and so kind of run us through your buck that you shot, kind of what your setup was, where you were generally,
Yeah.
what your game plan was for opening day, and kind of how it all came together.
Right. Well, so it's pretty much a typical gun hunter story. It's basically spend the last week or two of bow season kind of looking forward to the forecast and how you're going to set up for that gun season opener. Because basically my strategy typically is just to play off pressure of other hunters. So I was hunting a fairly new property that I just started hunting last year, and I just got to set up, basically the big thing that I was looking at was that there was an east wind on Saturday, which is pretty strange for around here. We don't get a whole lot of that. So I was excited because, basically where we're hunting, there's a lot of hunters coming in from Borough Road, be it to the farm or this different property that I was hunting. So I knew all those guys were going to be coming in with the wind at their backs. So, pressure-wise, that was pretty interesting because usually we're used to having the wind go the other way.
Right.
And we're always trying to make sure that we're not, we're trying to make sure that we're not pushing deer around to other hunters. So the tables were kind of turned in that regard. So I had a kind of a ridgetop setup looking into a ravine, and a setup where I could see probably 100 to 200 yards in any direction. I was up in my climber about, I had to be at least 30 feet. It's a nice thing about a climber. You can pick a nice straight maple tree and just climb until you feel like you're up there where you can see everything. So morning started off a little bit slow. I seen 2 little ones, but then at about 7:30, I see a deer come running through, and it actually came from the opposite direction that I was expecting, so it surprised me a little bit. Came running from the bottom of the ravine. I pulled my binoculars up and didn't get a good look, but I thought some pretty good tines, so I said, well, I better get the gun and get ready. And the deer turned and cut up through the hill towards me, but at probably 150 yards away and through a lot of cover. He was heading for some hemlocks, and there's beech everywhere there. So I kind of picked an opening where I saw the deer was going to and got my gun up, and he happened to stop like right in the opening that I needed him to. But I sort of rushed things. I had to make a quick decision because I knew that it was either going to be now or never. So he stopped. I pulled the trigger. He actually moved up to, there was basically 2 openings, and he moved into the second one and pulled the trigger again, and I was pretty sure I hit him. So I didn't see him go down because there was so much cover around there. I really couldn't see much. So I waited about 45 minutes because I didn't want to risk going up there and having a wounded deer and pushing him off the property and making a mess out of it. So I waited till about 8:15, about 45 minutes after the shot, to climb down. And the whole time I'm thinking, boy, I don't know if I should have shot at that deer. I really didn't take my time to identify what that was. I know it was a good buck, but I really, in hindsight, I probably should have just let him run and thought back, when you do that, then you think back, boy, I wonder if that was one of my target bucks that I was looking for. I saw a good tine over there. And
well, it's opening morning, you're all fired up.
Yeah.
Like, and you see a deer come running through, and it's like, oh my God. And you just get excited. Like,
yeah, you really do. And that's the fun of gun season for me. You spend the whole bow season sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when you have a sighting like that, it's like, well, I saw a deer at 150 yards away, and you don't even really call that a close encounter.
Yeah.
But with a gun, it's like you're locked and loaded, and you're ready to make it happen. And I usually do. When it's time to pull the trigger, I usually have success. So anyways, I get down and I kind of snuck my way up there, and he was laying dead there, and ended up it was a hard shot. So he ended up being just a big 2-year-old 8-pointer. So he was a nice buck.
Did you have that deer on camera over there or no?
No, I actually had I would say I had 10 different deer that were 2 years old or more. I probably had at least 5 that were at least 3 years old. But part of the challenge with that is that I don't think any of them really live on that 90-acre property. I think they're all coming from neighboring properties, and they pass through at night, and they hit the food. There's tons of acorns there, and then there's a top field.
Is there a lot of acorns there?
Oh yeah,
there's not a lot of acorns around us.
No, this property is part of that big creek system that runs through, crosses Clinton Street and comes through the scout camp. Mm-hmm. So if you follow that creek bank along, you're going to find acorns everywhere.
No kidding.
So there's a ton of both red and white oak up there, and there's hickory and beech. So there's a lot of mast for the deer. But no, I did have several different bucks that I was hoping to see, and I was hoping that based off the pressure, maybe one of them would come running through, and that's kind of what happened. But it wasn't exactly one of the ones I was looking for, and that's funny too, because that's that is what happens during gun season, and especially opening morning. Deer are running in every direction, and you don't really know what you're going to see.
No.
It's
There's deer that get shot or deer that get seen that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, every time you hear a gunshot, you're going, oh, I hope that wasn't one of the deer.
I hope that wasn't him.
It's one thing if Billy or Brian or Dad or Molly shoots one of the deer that you're waiting on, but yeah, it's always kind of especially opening day, it is a little bit of a nervous time every time you hear that gunshot go off, you know.
That's what I've liked about hunting, and like you hunted somewhere off of the farm on opening day. This is the second year, and you did that last year too.
Yeah, same thing last year.
This year I hunted the Nature Conservancy. I have no invested. You know, I
right.
don't know. I have no clue what's there. So it almost, you know, I have a hard time explaining it to like my uncle because he just is so passionate about hunting our camp, and it's like it's all about that place. But to me, you know, that complete unknown, complete disregard for like not being paranoid about what you're going to see or when you're going to see it on opening day, especially. It's like, yeah, I'm just out here just to have fun and hope that something cool happens in front of me. Take some of the pressure off, you know.
Yeah. And we've never, you know, opening day wise, Brian has killed a lot of nice bucks, but I've killed a couple of them. But Dad, I don't think in all the time I've been hunting, which is about 25 years now, I'm almost positive he's never killed a buck on opening day.
Yeah.
And when you walk in his house and look at his wall, there's just an incredible amount of horn that most of it that came from the farm. So
Yeah.
it's not a big deal to us if we don't get him the first day. And I'm not even that concerned about hunting there the first day because we just don't have a lot of good spots that the deer get chased and travel through. It's more of a bedding and feeding type of a property than it is, you know, somewhere to really set up for opening day. And with the east wind, that really, even though it was good for us, it doesn't leave us a lot of places to set up. So I was happy to just go and hunt a different property and
the late in season is going to, I mean, you just filled your buck tag, but late in gun season is going to be interesting out on the farm because, like, when you really look at it, like, it really has not been pressured much at all this entire season. I mean, Brian's been venturing out, you've been venturing out, I've been venturing out. You know, your dad hasn't been hunting that much, so there's just, I think, come late in season, like muzzleloader and you know, later in rifle season, there could be some good opportunities, especially if we get some snow on the ground.
Yeah.
With the standing corn yet. And
yeah, there's a lot of corn on the property and the cold temperatures, hopefully, you know, I'm looking at the next 10 days or so, and the temperatures are cold, but doesn't show a lot of snow in the forecast, but it definitely, I expect there to be some good deer killed in the late season. And the thing is, too, I'm going to stay right out of there. I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
At least, you know, I might hunt the edges a little bit and try to kill a doe, but otherwise, obviously, I'm not going to go pushing my luck in there and try to pressure any of those. You know, there's two particular deer I'm thinking of that I would love to get a crack at late in the season. And usually when that happens, we'll get one.
Yeah.
Somebody will.
Yeah, you've had a pretty damn good track record the last few years.
Yeah, that's basically my history of killing good deer is doing it in the late season, for sure.
I hate you for it, but...
It's like, it's a lot
you get that phone call at 4:45 in the afternoon, it's like, what'd you shoot now?
Yeah, most people at that time, you know, I struggle hunting.
Out and everybody else is burnt out.
And they're trying to fill doe tags, and that's when I'm usually making it happen, so...
All right, we're back live. Slick Willie made a mistake there. It's all right. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, so that was Saturday morning, so I was a little... It's always fun to kill something and have a buck on the ground, but I was a little disappointed that I knew that, you know, the next month was going to be, aside from Pennsylvania, I'm not going to be able to chase bucks around, but it is what it is, so... You know, and now I got this deer down, and it's only, 8:45, so I got him home in the cooler by noon, and so that's when I asked Emma if she was ready to go hunting, because we had planned on hunting Sunday afternoon. She was over at Brian's house on Saturday, so I figured, well, now I'm out of the game, so I might as well get Emma some extra time in the woods, because she's been really wanting to get out there, but it's very difficult to bow hunt with her because you kind of have to hunt on the ground, and you know,
she can't sit still.
Yeah.
You can talk now. It's your turn. Yeah, you can. What are you, a mute? You're like a gesture. You just... Yeah, you. this is terrible radio, because if you don't actually make noise, then it's not even funny. Okay, so I guess your father will talk for you. You got all... What?
All right, so tell us, Saturday afternoon, first Saturday we went.
You went out Saturday afternoon.
And what was the weather like?
It was freezing. We didn't see anything. And then we went again Sunday. We saw this doe. It was like laying down. It wasn't moving. Well, it was moving.
Where were we hunting?
My grandpa's.
Grandpa's, yep. And what kind of setup were we in?
A hut.
Were you in the shooting hut?
Yeah, we were in a elevated blind or a hut.
A little warmer in there, I would assume, than sitting outside on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, Saturday, to say it was freezing was an understatement.
It's well below freezing.
Yeah, by the time she did pretty good up till dark, and then on the walk back,
It just fell apart.
Oh my gosh. Our feet, even my feet were freezing as I was walking, which, that's not normal. When your feet are cold and we had probably almost a half a mile hike, and it's like, holy cow, it's cold out. So on Sunday, the weather was a little nicer, and we were in a blind, right? So go ahead.
Floor is yours.
And we were in the hut. We saw this doe. It was laying down. We were waiting for more deer to come out. There were no more. So my dad.
Yeah, we waited till about 4:45 because, I was pretty sure that doe would get up and move before that, or I was even more sure that we would see some other does in the area. But one thing is that...
Because the corn was still standing right next to you, too.
He was actually in the process of combining the corn around us, which I thought would be great. I'm thinking...
you think there'd be deer running all over
We're
the place?
sitting
on the edge of all that swamp and goldenrod and every good bedding areas where you'd think that there'd be a handful of deer coming out to feed, but... that doe that was laying there, I'm sure she watched us climb in that blind, so that's probably why she never got up. All right, so at about 4:45, I told Emma, I think this is going to be our best opportunity. So, Emma...
So, he shot the deer. We went to go look for it.
Do we have an easy time getting up to where that shot was, or no?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, because I know that was over where we were planting the trees back in the spring, right?
Yeah.
And that is thick as thieves over there. It's all briars and...
Yeah, there's briars as big around as your beer can.
Yeah.
It is ugly.
So you enjoyed walking through there then?
No, I did not.
Did it tear your little cute little bibs up, or you got some rip proof? God, you don't think you bring all that sass here, sister.
We followed the blood trail, and we found the deer. It was not dead.
It wasn't moving. It wasn't
wasn't
trying to get
moving.
away, but it was still breathing.
But it was still breathing, and the tail was still moving.
So she was starting to expire, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly what he said.
She was on her way out, but we kind of rushed it a little bit because it was getting dark.
Getting dark, yeah.
And
Oh wait, I forgot to mention that I found the deer.
yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
So was that your first blood trail?
Yeah, because back last year, my dad shot a doe, but we didn't have to follow the blood trail. And
It didn't go anywhere. The story ended pretty quick.
Yeah.
So how would you think about that? Following the blood trail?
It was really cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
Cold and fun.
That's good that you think that of it, because that's what deer hunting typically is cold and fun.
Yeah.
And I fell like 15 times or something. I don't know.
5 times 15 or 5:15?
Yeah. We went for a walk in the middle of the day. It was nice out, but
I fell.
she was...
I was counting. I got over 7, and below 15.
So it was somewhere in the mid-range there, in that roundabout, yeah.
So, yeah, it was really fun.
That's good.
And I'm going to go again soon. And,
So how old are you? I mean, that's a personal question, but I feel like...
I'm going to be 8 in December 20th.
8?
8.
Man, you're growing right up. It's crazy. I can remember when you were like this big, maybe even smaller. Yeah, now you're just a big, tall girl. So it's pretty cool. You enjoy hunting with your dad?
I do. I even have my own backpack, my own hat, my own coat.
You have a blanket too?
I have a blanket.
What do you put in that backpack?
What's
your loadout look like? I mean, you got...
Give us your gear.
That's your gear breakdown. What brands you run in? Who's your sponsors?
Walmart brand.
Yeah.
I have, I carry a snack, water.
Stop that. It's coming across as... You have a snack, some water.
Binoculars.
A blanket.
No, Dad carries that.
Dad carries that. Dad's a good man.
Chair.
A chair. I have my own chair. I'm impressed.
We got some nice fold-up blind chairs.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually broke out a thick fleece blanket on Saturday, and it just because of the temperatures. I knew we sat next to each other on the ground Saturday afternoon and put that across our legs, and it worked pretty good.
Yeah, I bet.
I have like a thing that brings bucks closer.
Can you do a buck grunt for us?
Sure. Just so you know, I kind of sound like a duck.
Ooh, that does kind of sound like a duck. Give me another one. So that's a tending grunt.
Rip a good one. There you go.
Is that a mallard or is it a wood duck? What do you got working there?
It's a deer!
What about a snort wheeze? Can you give me a snort wheeze? You know what that is?
No, because
Okay.
I can't do it because I sound.
Because you sound like a duck, and ducks don't snort wheeze. Well, that's very impressive. And I think it's sweet that you guys get out there as much as you do together, and that's what we're all about here at Pert Near Outdoors.
It's not bad.
It's not. That's better. Ooh, that was a good one.
There you go.
It's pretty good. It's impressive. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so this is my sister, and she's gonna talk. She's 11 years old. Her birthday is September 28th, so she's gonna talk now. Also, she doesn't like deer hunting, so, she's gonna talk.
I have to put it on.
No, you could just hold it there.
All my sister wanted to do was just talk about the podcast and be on it but then when she sits down, she gets a little nervous. But when she's talking, she wants to stop. But then when someone else is talking, she gets, she wants to talk.
So it's your turn now.
So, I was in the truck this one time, and I heard Kirsch family on the
podcast.
And yeah. And I'm like, oh, I wish that was us. And Dad's like, that is us. I'm like, oh, I'm famous? Oh, that's great. I want to be on it sometime.
Yeah, a couple times I've had the podcast on in the truck while we were driving, and they perk up when
they hear
that.
Kirsch. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's us.
You're famous now. I think it's awesome that you like being out there and hunting with your dad. And, you're 8, so you're 4 years away from being able to get your small game license, and you'll be out there shooting squirrels and...
Yeah, of course we go squirrel hunting and
can't find a squirrel.
My life story of squirrel hunting. Yeah, every time I go out there, you can't find one. You might see one a mile away, and then of course everybody knows what happens when you go deer hunting.
Right.
I also want a BB gun.
Oh yeah.
A Red Ryder BB gun? You shoot your eye out, kid. It's almost Christmas.
She's been getting that more than Ralphie.
Yeah, poor Ralphie.
Yeah.
Maybe this year will be your year, or next year.
Yeah, so I think maybe Sunday afternoon we're going to try to get out again. Maybe
Try to get out there and get another doe.
Yep. Don't worry about it.
So you guys have anything else to say before we wrap this thing up?
No, I just want to say that I'm very famous, and you should listen to me.
You're honored to be on. I'm very honored that you get to do this.
Are you technically the youngest guest so far? I know we tried to get Bill Dan on one time, but he didn't want to talk.
Yeah, Bill Dan didn't have a whole lot of value to bring, but I feel like today you've done a lot here.
I'm just famous, so, and I'm pretty young to know a lot.
You are. You're a pretty sharp kid. I don't know a whole lot of 8-year-olds that can grunt and blood trail deer. I'm just saying that. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know any. You're it. And that stand like that and curl their hair back, and I don't know about your style as far as like the colors you like wear when you. I think you need to be brighter. You're a little dull. If you got feelings, let them out.
He's the one that wears the bright. He's the one that wears the bright orange shirt, the bright green shirt, the. Ah!
Who are you talking about? Me?
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Slick.
I'm talking about Slick.
You're my favorite. You're a piece of work.
That was my story.
I think that's a good place to
No, I
end
want
it.
to end it.
You want to end it?
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Wait. What do I say? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Hope you liked. Hope you like my famous sister. Hopefully you want her on again, because even if you don't, too bad. She's gonna be on here again.
Next time, my older sister's gonna be on.
she is on. She's talking right now.
So
Yeah.
All right. So
hope you
goodbye,
like
girls.
her.
That is all for now.